Welcome to Immortal Wisdom with Leon Denis. I'm Vanessa Anceloni and I'm very joyful to share with you 15 short videos we have prepared for you based on 15 chapters, the most special chapters we've found in his books, specifically in the book After Death, which was recently published in its English version by the United States Spiritist Council. You can acquire your copy at spiritist.us. Leon Denis really made a difference in the Spiritist movement, and he continues in the afterlife. Leon Denis was born in France in 1846 and discarnated in 1927. He was a Spiritist philosopher and a writer. His writing style is very unique because he wrote with his reasoning and his heart. He brings a lot of understanding and also a lot of consolation. At times it's very poetic. And you see, as you join us in this 15 video journey to a better life, his writings were so transformative that Divaldo Franco said to me when we were preparing these videos for this series. He said that there are people who better understood Kardec after reading Leon Denis. No wonder. We can feel it. It's very, very inspirational, to the point that he says, and I quote from the very chapter 42 from the book After Death, the knowledge of the true purpose of life brings about incalculable consequences for humankind's improvement and elevation. The very chapter we're going to discuss today is the first chapter in a 15 chapter series. It's titled The Straight and Narrow Pathway. It's about guidelines for a happier life. Who doesn't want a happier life? In this very chapter, he titled it Moral Life. Moral is a word that is very controversial nowadays, mostly because we have misused it. But one of the tasks of Spiritism is to rescue the true meaning of each and every word in each and every language and help humanity progress in all of its dimensions. Moral here, in Leon Denis says to us, means the importance on observing the principles that lead us to making good or bad choices. And it's so interesting because he will begin this very chapter, Moral Life, saying, almost like quoting Kardec in the Spirit's book. He's going to say, we human beings have the laws of God inscribed in our conscience. Like question 621 of the Spirit's book by Kardec. You may ask, if that is true, how come we don't follow through? How come we make poor choices oftentimes? Well, the illuminated spirits explained all of it to us in Kardec's book, the Spirit's book, by saying to all of us that we often forget or disregard the laws. So that's why we need elevated minds, spirits, people to come and remind us of the narrow and straight pathway, as Leon Denis is doing to us when he wrote these very chapters we're discussing here today. Well, one thing to note is that as soon as he explains that the laws of God are in our conscience, he says that our choices bring to us emotional effects. And I'm going to quote to you from the very book After Death, page 261. A good deed provides an inner satisfaction, a sort of expansion and blossoming of its author's soul. Inversely, our wrongs frequently bring about bitterness and remorse. It's so interesting how our choices can bring consequences, emotional, physical, spiritual consequences. And that's what we are talking about here. When Leon Denis talks about that, he says that Spiritism uniquely brings to us an understanding, clarifying many things that we couldn't understand until now. It's the very promised consoler by Jesus, as he said. He says materialism fails to bring to us clear guidance to a happy life. Why? He says, because it lacks solid foundation, because of its hedonic focus. It's about instant gratification all the time. We can't be happy that way. And the Spiritist philosophy, as he says, and I'm quoting here in page 262, comes to offer a more elevated sanction, a far more generous and nobler idea to humankind. Leon Denis points out to us that to lead a moral life, we should be a strict obligation by all individuals who care about their destiny. So that shall be our focus every day. If you ask this very question, Leon Denis addresses this. What is then the goal of our lives? What is the goal? In page 262, he answers, we need to look for constant improvement and the means to observe moral principles in all of their aspects. When Kardec asked the good spirits, and it's published in the Spirits book, if we're all going to get to happiness one day, why the rush? And I'm putting this in my own words. And the answer is very precise. Because the sooner we get there, the happier we'll be. What can we do in our lives today to be more fitting in this proposal of continuous self-improvement? Ending our days thinking, may I be better tomorrow than I were today. When I wake up, may I be better today than I were yesterday. What can I do to improve myself? And be very honest and sincere. It doesn't matter what people think about us, because at the end of our reincarnation, when we meet our conscience very closely after death, we will be our own judges. And that can be a relief for us if we have found that through our own good choices, in sacrifices of the ego, we actually improved ourselves. So, Leon Denis then says that for every action there is a reaction. When the goal is such, Leon Denis explains that any society, when following this pathway, narrow pathway, is indestructible. It can brave all the problems and the challenges, and the reverse is also true. No wonder the problems that are happening in the world, because people are doing the reverse. If we try to follow through the moral principles, our society becomes indestructible. Let us meditate on this. And to wrap up, on this very first video about the very first chapter in this 15 chapter series written by Leon Denis under the title The Straight and Narrow Pathway in the Book After Death, he says, very poetic, and I'm gonna quote to you. Can't resist it because it's really beautiful and inspirational. I really hope that this can make your day even better. How blissful are the humans who in this life full of darkness and pitfalls march constantly toward the elevated goal they know and discern, and from which they are certain. How blissful are those who are inspired in their work and prompted forward by a breath from above. They remain indifferent to pleasures, Neither the temptations of the flesh nor the deceptive glitters of fortune can have an empire on them. Like travelers on the way, they are called by their goal and they hurry along to reach it. Just beautiful. A lot of food for the soul. We're going to wrap up. Thank you very much, and until next video.